Welcome to the KGI Podcast, where we feature students, faculty, staff, and alumni to get an insight into the innovation and collaboration around campus and beyond graduation. In today's episode, we chat with Barbara Fortini, an assistant professor of genetics at KGI. After growing up in Texas, Barbara attended Caltech, where she earned her bachelor's degree and PhD in biology. Here at KGI, she has been instrumental in building the curriculum for the new MS program in human genetics and genomic data analytics. Welcome to the podcast, Barbara. Can you begin by sharing how you first became interested in KGI?
So about a year ago, I was teaching undergraduate genetics at the Keck Science Department of the Claremont Colleges, and I heard that KGI was going to start a genetic counseling program, and I was very excited about that because this is a huge need in the healthcare space to have trained genetic counselors, and I had a lot of students who wanted to go into this field, but there weren't enough programs in California especially. And so hearing that KGI was starting a program, I immediately reached out and started helping out with the curriculum development. And a few months later, here I am.
And can you share also a little bit about what makes KGI unique, specifically the new Masters in Genomic Data Analytics?
You know, KGI is unique in a lot of ways, but especially in genetics and genomics, the responsiveness to the needs of the industry is really something that KGI excels in. Traditional educational programs have not been meeting the need of the science of the future. A lot of genetics curriculums still teach the same curriculum they've taught for the last 40 years. But science is moving on, especially in the private sector with genomic testing companies and a lot of genetic design drugs and even some approved gene therapies now. There has to be a training program to make future employees for all of these rapidly expanding companies. And so when KGI started to pitch this idea of the Genomic Data Analytics program, I was super excited because there is no program anywhere in the United States that's designed especially for training people to work in the genomics industry of today. And when I came to KGI, they basically handed me a blank sheet of paper and said, design the perfect curriculum to work in this industry for what the science is today, not what it was 10 years ago or what it was even 40 years ago. And that gave us a huge opportunity to really map out what we think that people will need to know in 5 years to be a successful scientist at one of these companies that are just growing like crazy because genomics is so powerful now. The technology is so advanced compared to where it was even 5 years ago. Really predicting what we're going to have in terms of genomic medicine, personalized medicine in the next 5 years is really just determined by what kind of students we can train to do all these great new things.
And obviously, you know the curriculum better than anyone. What courses specifically will you be teaching? And can you give a summary of all the different areas you'll have a hand in?
Yeah, so I'll be teaching the two foundational courses for both our Masters in Genetic Counseling and our Masters in Genomic Data Analytics. And those two courses are Human Molecular Genetics the first semester and Human Genomics the second semester. So in Human Molecular Genetics, this is a lot of the classical information just on human genetics that you'll get in any graduate level program, but really focused on what we know today about how genes work and how DNA works. And the second class is one that I was very excited to propose. And that's an entire class just devoted to human genomics and how we think about the genome now that we know all that we do about how epigenetics works and how chromatin works, and having all these genome-wide data sets, it has really changed the way geneticists think about the genome in the last few years. And I thought, what if we design a class that just starts from right there? What we know now, not necessarily how we got there or things we thought would be true and it turned out to not to be true. So this is a class I'm super excited to teach for the first time. And we'll also have a next generation sequencing lab to go along with that for the genomics data analytics students. Well, where we'll be sequencing a couple human genomes and doing the analysis that someone might do if they were working at a either a medical office or a company that offered personalized medicine.
And obviously, there's already been considerable interest from prospective students, and where some of our programs might be mostly, undergrads going into graduate school. Have you also seen a few career changers in the mix?
Definitely. The field of genomics really is one that's driven by both computer science and biology in equal measures. And so this program is designed for people who have always been interested in genetics and want to learn how they can work in a personalized medicine genomics type company. It will also be great for someone who has a lot of computer science background, data analytics, big data background that want to do something for the healthcare industry and want to help people directly. Both of those backgrounds are equally suited to a career in clinical genomics.
Earlier in one of your answers, you obviously covered the courses that you'll be involved with. What about the research side?
So my interest has always been in cancer. And I did a postdoc at the University of Southern California, Keck School of Medicine, in colon cancer genomics. And the whole basis of this field is trying to take genotyping data, maybe like you would get from one of the companies you hear advertising on the radio, and actually predict someone's risk for a disease from that. And for some diseases, it's pretty easy. It might be a true, what we call Mendelian disease, where there's one mutation that's been tied to the disease. And if you have that mutation, you're definitely going to get the disease. Or if you don't have the mutation, you don't have to worry about it. But things like cancer are really complex traits. So there are lots of genes involved. The environment is involved. Your diet is involved. And so how can we predict someone's risk for, say, colon cancer using their genomic data? And that question is going to take a lot of teasing apart from the roles of the environment and the role of genetics. But we have genome-wide association studies which have given us some big clues to what genes might be involved and what kind of risks some people might have if they have particular sets of what we call variants or differences in their genome. All of these variants have very small effects, but they could add up to something big. And so in the future, we would hope to be able to do genotyping and then perhaps tell a person that, you have a twofold risk of colon cancer compared to the average person. Maybe you need to get more colonoscopies. Or you could tell someone that, with this particular genotype, if you eat a lot of fiber, you will have protection from colon cancer. That is kind of way looking into the future. On the day-to-day, we're trying to use this genome-wide data to understand more about colon cancer. So the great thing about genome-wide data is it's not hypothesis-driven. You don't pick out a gene that you think might be involved and then do some studies to prove whether or not it's actually involved. When we did genome-wide association studies for colon cancer, we found a few locations in the genome that were totally surprising. We have no idea why having a variant at this place would give you colon cancer. And so a lot of my research in the lab is trying to figure out why does this one particular genotype give you colon cancer when the other one does not for these genes that we know nothing about and we had no idea might be involved in colon cancer. And that's why I'm so excited about it, because it's surprising and it's a puzzle. And hopefully by figuring that out, we can design maybe a great drug or some sort of screening test.
And out of curiosity, are there a number of students that are helping you in the lab right now? And will that number grow as a new program comes on board?
Yeah, since I'm just setting up my lab now, I'm actively looking for students to participate. And hopefully, as we get these genetic programs up and running, we'll have some excited and motivated students to do some of this work, because I certainly can't do it all by myself. And I think the most fun part about being a student in genetics is getting your hands dirty and looking at some mutations and trying to figure out what effect it has in real people.
And as we close out the interview, throw a lighthearted question in there, but what is something you're involved with outside of KGI that may surprise people, whether it's a hobby, activity?
So I'm actually a member of the Sierra Madre Search and Rescue Team. So on weekends, you might see me rappelling out of a helicopter to help someone who's been injured in the mountains, or getting flown up to a mountain and dropped off for 3 days to search for someone who's missing. I started doing this about 12 years ago, and last year I was elected president of the Search and Rescue Team. And so it's a great way to help people on an immediate scale. Doing colon cancer research, I'm probably not going to cure colon cancer in the next 5 years, but I can splint someone's broken leg and help them get to the hospital.
Making an impact, obviously, in the classroom and in the mountains. Something new we learned there. But thanks, Barbara, for joining us on the podcast, and we can't wait to follow everything that unfolds for the Genomic Data Analytics program.